Hello, everyone. I hope everybody has been having a good week. It is Friday, so everybody's going into the weekend. I hope people have some good plans for the weekend. So I figured I'd come on here and chat with you guys. We can talk about some of the stuff that's been going on YouTube. And I also kind of want to talk about why I haven't really been consistent and where I have been. I am going to be rather vague just for privacy reasons, but I haven't been totally present on my channel lately, and a lot of that has to do with stuff going on in real life. We all have issues that arise from time to time, and there's just been a lot going on with family and situations that have needed to take my attention. So I have been dealing with a lot of serious stuff within real life in my family and decisions to be made that have really taken me away from being able to film any content. I'm hoping a lot of that starts to slow down and I can get back to making the content that I was planning on making for you guys. So please bear with me. Some of that is still lingering, and there's likely to be a lot of changes for me. And as those arise, I will discuss them with you just so you guys kind of know a little bit of what's going on. But I did feel it was owed to you guys to let you know, like, I'm not intentionally not being here. I'm not intentionally not filming content. I just haven't really had the time. I've been doing a lot of back and forth dealing with things that has taken me away from filming, but I have been trying my best to keep up with watching YouTube. So I've been a lot more of a viewer lately than I have a creator. And I just felt like you guys kind of deserve somewhat of an explanation because the last I had talked to you a couple of weeks ago, I was planning on changing all my content and doing more commentary. And I had every intention of doing that. And then life happens. I think we all experience that from time to time. So some life stuff happened, and that's just had a lot of my attention lately. Things are getting better in that realm, but there are subsequent things because as life happens and we get older, there's more decisions to be made and things to be done to make sure that you're setting yourself up for success. And that's kind of what I've been doing. But I'm hoping now that things are kind of calming down and some of the things that were going on were really concerning, and that's why I wasn't here. Those concerns have been mitigated, and now we just have changes will be coming. And as they happen, I will let you guys know. Right now, there's still a little bit too many questions in the air as far as what those changes may be and what they're going to look like for me. But as they occur, I will keep you guys informed. And I'm hoping from this point on, I can get back into filming now that I'm home, and I should be able to remain home for the foreseeable future. So I did feel you guys kind of were owed an explanation as to kind of where I've been, and can't exactly tell you what's been going on just due to privacy reasons, like I said, but it's nothing that I want you guys really to worry about. That's why I chose to stay away. I do share with you guys quite a bit, and it's stuff that doesn't really need to be out on the internet. It's not particularly my story to tell, so I'm not going to do that. So I appreciate you guys for hopefully being understanding and being willing to continue this YouTube journey with me. But with that out of the way, I'm going to go ahead and say hello to everybody who's here. And then we can go ahead and talk about some of the YouTube stuff that maybe you guys have seen, that I've seen. We can just go from there. And this can kind of be like a weekly wrap up, but it's going to be probably over the past couple of weeks because I haven't been able to do one. So I am going to go ahead and say hi to everybody. Thank you guys all for being here. Hey, Miss Cassandra. Hey, Stina. Hey, Shaylin. Hey, Sue. Well, hopefully this was a good wake-up call for you. Hey, Jamie. Hey, Rose. Hey, Susie. Hey, Debbie. Hey, Jakes. Hey, Sally. Hey, Dina, good to see you. Hey, Heather. Yeah, real life does happen. And for me, I've said it before, like real life will always take precedence over my YouTube channel. And that's kind of what happened. And what was happening was so last minute, and it was something that was concerning. So it wasn't a thing where I could really sit down and talk to you guys and tell you guys I was going to be gone, because I didn't know how long I was going to be gone for or what all that entailed. So I really couldn't discuss much of it with you guys. Hey, Kaleidoscopic, how are you? Hey, Sherry. Hey, the Dark Magician. Hey, Amber, I hope everybody has had, a good couple of weeks. It kind of feels weird coming back after not really being here. It's almost like the first jitter nerves, even though I've done this so many times, it's still a little bit different after you've gone for quite a while without sitting down to talk about YouTube stuff. It's kind of like, wow, this is a little bit different. Why? Like, it's been so long. Do I know how to do this? Do I know how to live stream? So I don't know about you guys, but there has been quite a few different things that have been going on the internet lately. I know a lot of people are talking about the I would consider it viral. It got shared so many times, of the mommy vlogger who was, her name's Jordan. I think you pronounce her last name by Cheyenne, or her YouTube channel, Jordan Cheyenne. I may be mispronouncing that. And I think it brings a good conversation to the table here. I mean, there's been a lot of channels over months, maybe even longer than that, trying to bring some kind of awareness to family channels and how concerning it was that these family channels are forcing their children to do things that they probably wouldn't do. And it's always just kind of been a little bit of speculation. And it shows really how far some of these channels are going. And I understand that this mom had an interview with the Dad Challenge podcast, and I watched it. I don't know how I felt about that interview overall. I'm not going to shame this mom. I do believe that she cares for her child and she does genuinely love him. And it was something that I think if this incident hadn't happened, I don't know if she would be seeing the light as to how dangerous it is for the actions that they put their kids into, because this was just for a thumbnail. Can you imagine for some videos or clips that they film, how they ask their children to maybe behave in a certain way or act a certain way or pose a certain way or do something maybe they didn't even want to do to begin with, just for a video? It really does open up that conversation. It's really disheartening to see that during an emotional time that they were experiencing, she wanted to capitalize on that for a thumbnail. It's really off-putting, and I hope it does bring a little bit more conversation around the concerns of family bloggers. And that's not to say that every family blogger forces their children to act a certain way or do a certain thing. But I think once you get to a certain amount of following, you almost feel that you have to almost outdo yourself for the next video to continue to bring in more viewers. And that's a conversation that I think is important to have. My stance on family vloggers, I think, is a little bit different and maybe not what everybody would anticipate my opinion to be of family vloggers. I do think you can do it appropriately when you're not forcing your kids, when you're literally just filming little bits and pieces and compiling it together when the children are wanting to be on camera. It still always is going to still beg the question about consent. And that's, a controversial topic to talk about, who can consent for the kids, if the kids can even consent for themselves. And I've had that conversation before, but seeing this the way that it happened and so many people being outraged by it, I think is going to spark more conversations to be had around the pressures that family channels are probably putting their children in. So it's unfortunate that this mom is the one who happened to behave in this manner and it end up being something that got shared so much and so many people are aware of. But it was going to happen eventually. I mean, we've had channels and large platforms even at times calling out some of the more problematic family channels. So I think this is going to be something that we see more creators kind of talking about and giving their opinions on, and maybe even offering like suggestions on how to maybe work a family channel without it being too much pressure on the kids. You can have a family channel and it not really be centered around your children, but when you start to make it all about your kids and what your kids are doing, and really situations that I don't think the internet should be aware of your child going through, like puberty and things like that, that's really embarrassing for an average kid who's not even being filmed, but let alone to think that your parents are forcing you to film and talk about the changes that you're experiencing. It's really inappropriate, and I think it crosses a lot of lines. But I'm interested to see how this specific incident, how it starts to maybe spark some more conversations. I see that maybe coming from it. Who's to say? This is only a couple of days old that this has happened. So I'm interested to see what other people's opinions are, what other people's take of this situation are, and how they talk about it. So I don't know, if you have seen that, how do you feel about that, as whether you're a viewer, or I know some of you guys are creators who are in the chat. How do you guys feel seeing that clip of this mom like trying to make her son, who was already emotional, pose for this thumbnail and like dramatize it? And in her interview with DCP, she continued to say like she's afraid that her audience is going to think that she's not genuine. And I don't know if that's where I would go if I was put in that situation and I had been outed for something like that with my child. I don't think I would really care if my audience thought I was genuine anymore. I would more or less care about thinking the ramifications that could have had on your kid, and thinking about all the other situations maybe you had forced your son to be in that maybe he didn't want to participate in. That's more or less where I would go, where my mind would go in situations like that. I wouldn't really be caring what my audience was going to perceive the rest of my content as. Sue, you watch one channel that aren't acting but are a family channel. You were shocked. Melissa says she was shocked at how bad that video was and that somehow accidentally left it in, given that. Yeah, I mean, she claimed that she edits her own videos, so I don't know if she intended for that clip to be left in, or if it was just an accident that part got left in it. I don't know if we ever got the answer to that. You thought the interview was disappointing. I'm surprised. The mom clearly in the interview, I think she was ready to be hit hard with some really hard and serious questions. And personally, I think DCP kind of took it easy on her. I don't know if that's because he didn't want to shut her down or have her decide she wasn't going to do it because he was going in on her for some certain things. But she was calling herself out more about the incident at hand than even DCP did. So I was a little bit surprised by that aspect of the interview. She continued to say that, she loves her son and she does everything she has to provide for him. And I believe that. Like, I don't believe because this is out there that she's a terrible parent. Is it, in my opinion, a bad parenting choice to force your kid to exaggerate for a thumbnail when they're already emotional? Yeah, I don't think that that's the best decision, but it doesn't mean that you're a god-awful parent because you're making a thumbnail. And it seemed to be that was primarily what her concern was. And I can understand that being her concern in the climate that YouTube and the internet are currently, for her to be, over explaining how much she cares for her son. I don't think a lot of family vloggers are bad parents. I just don't necessarily agree with their parenting choices as far as like making their children the center of their channel. And even this particular mom used to have content that didn't involve her son, and she kind of disclosed that as time went on, she felt she almost had to share him, and then it just became second nature to share him, and that he actually enjoys being a part of the internet. And Josh did point out in the interview, well, that's all he knows, so he's not going to know anything different, which is a good point that he made. Like, kids who are growing up and not knowing any different, to have a camera in their face is very much, they don't know anything different. It's how they grew up. You weren't surprised by the interview. Hey, Skip, good to see you. Hey, Claudia. Yeah, it was pretty disturbing, but I just think it was a bad parenting choice. And I mean, to think that situations like that probably, I mean, clearly they occur more than just that one time. Any exaggerated thumbnail at this point, with the son being a part of it, is going to make me think that that was kind of the same scenario going on, coaching the child to behave a certain way. Yeah, Ruth, I was talking about the parts of what she was saying in the interview. I mean, Stina, and I didn't expect him to go like hard on her, but she even stated that she was expecting him to give her a little bit more pushback and a little bit harder questions. And again, I don't know if Josh just didn't want to, or if he was happy that a family channel who had found themselves in hot water was willing to talk to him about it. I'm not really sure. I mean, only Josh could answer those questions. I don't think the interview was bad. Like, I think he did a good job being an interviewer. But with his message, I am kind of surprised he didn't ask other questions that he writes home about in other videos that he's done, if that makes any sense. Yeah, YouTube definitely makes it easy for these family channels to exist and to behave in these kind of manners, because their content is always monetized. They're always getting sponsorships. It's easy for those kinds of channels to thrive on the platform. And I unfortunately, we live in a society where we are always going to react to things. We're not going to be proactive. We're not going to try and prevent anything bad from happening. Instead, what's going to happen is what happened with the actors years ago, is once these children who are growing up on the internet have all of these really poor repercussions from doing so, that is when laws will start to pass and policies will be put into place to prevent similar situations from happening to other kids moving forward. It just sucks that we're in a society that is that way, that there has to be a bad for anything to be done beforehand, before the bad happens. I'm so sorry you have lost a pet to parvo. I've had friends lose animals to parvo. It is a very serious illness that dogs, and especially puppies, can get, and it's extremely contagious to other dogs if they're not vaccinated. That's why your vet's always push to have your dogs up to date on shots, especially if you're going to have them out and around other animals, because you don't know if other pet owners are being as responsible. I'm sorry you had that experience. It really is a sad situation. It's refreshing to see criticism of actions instead of shaming as a parent and a person. I mean, I don't think shaming parents or their parenting styles from what we see online is really appropriate. I don't think that really does anything for the children or for whatever you're trying to call out. You can discuss what you're seeing and where you feel it's inappropriate with being respectful. You don't have to be nasty about it. You don't have to shame a parent about a decision that they made, but you can criticize that decision respectfully and identify like that it wasn't a good parenting choice. And she identifies that. It doesn't mean that she's a bad parent. It doesn't mean she doesn't love her son. It doesn't mean she's treating her son poorly. I know that that was one of her concerns. And I mean, I understand with the way the internet is right now, everybody is always out to go real life with people, which is extremely strange behavior to me. But I get her concern in that aspect. But again, I can't help but wonder, like, if this incident hadn't happened, would she be taking the precautions she is now saying she is going to take? She did say that, you know, some of her family and even herself have thought about, you know, taking her son a little bit off. But I mean, so much is already out there at this point. It's like these parents need to really, if you're going to go into family vlogging, you need to understand like your child's privacy should be important just as much as your privacy, as far as you not wanting people to know what mental health maybe you're struggling with or what diagnoses like physically you may be dealing with. Why do parents not think about that affecting their kids in the long term? You can have a family channel and have your child on your channel and not necessarily exploit them and not breach their privacy. You don't have to tell your audience when your child is diagnosed with something. Can it be uplifting? Yeah, it can be. Can it be helpful to other parents who may have children with a similar diagnosis? It can be. And I think those videos can be done, but they can be done without the child involved, and where you're doing a very generalized informative video where you're not exploiting your kid and their needs by having their meltdowns or anything like that recorded for people to see. That I have a very weird line for family bloggers. I've thought about maybe making a video about like my opinions on family bloggers and where I think like lines can start to get crossed. I might make that this week. Shame is a really unhealthy motivator, and most parents need more support than shaming. Yeah, and I mean, I don't think that. Are there some family bloggers who I do think definitely engage in the exploitation of their kids for the monetary gain? Absolutely. There are channels like that. They're the channels that constantly get called out for putting their kids in weird situations or in inappropriate situations, which most people wouldn't want others to know. Those kinds of situations, yes, there's family bloggers, and unfortunately, some of them are the more large family channel platforms. But there's so many family channels and not all of them engage in this bad behavior. And I don't necessarily know if it's appropriate to call out everyone and lump them all together, because it's very similar to people being lumped into being a T channel and then being shit on, or being lumped into the commentary genre and being shit on. Not everybody in a genre or a niche are going to be crappy at what they do or engage in crappy behavior. I mean, that's just the reality of it. And it sucks when there is so much coming out about how family channels are doing some things that aren't perceived as the best intention of the child. Moms have really important jobs. They do. I mean, they're raising kids. It's not easy to raise children. Parents putting their kids out there have been so lucky that no harm has happened to the kids. I mean, I can understand, and I know where you're coming from, and I agree with you as well, especially the channels that do provide too much information as far as where they're at, what they're going through. It's just weird. Like, since when has it become a thing to like not cherish your privacy at all, or your family's privacy? Can we be honest? Money, money, money. It makes the nicest people do crazy things. I do think there is an aspect of like greed that maybe comes with some of these channels. And I also think that people, when they start a social media presence and they start to be able to live off that social media presence, they become to where they almost outlive their income for the flex factor. They want it to seem like they're being really successful and that they have all this wealth. And the reality is they might not. They may just be putting that on for show to make people think that they're doing fabulously from their social media career. And in reality, they might not be, and they're just barely making ends meet. I think part of it is that as well. Like, people just outlive their means and they don't know what to do once they start to show that they're making money. So they try to keep up with it. I don't know. It's just an interesting thought process. People need to look at actual content rather than writing off a whole genre. I mean, people are going to do whatever they want to do. I get what you're saying there. So that's one thing that's been going on. That's a more recent thing that's happened on YouTube. Another thing, which I don't know if you guys watch these creators, but I've said before, before I had a channel or anything and I was just a viewer, I consumed a lot of beauty content. So I've recently started listening to Manny and Laura's podcast. Have any of you guys listened to that? Hey, Xylee. The Ace family are filing for bankruptcy. I know they're in all kinds of legal issues right now. I don't know the ins and outs of it, but I do know that they're involved in a lot of lawsuits right now. And that's one of the families that has historically been called out for their weird behavior and like kind of putting their kids in weird positions. Here's my thought. Can this wave of technology last? I don't know. Looking up and moving on, I don't know. You also think some of the channels started before we were even having these conversations. Safety for kids online is in general. Yeah, that is also another aspect that I don't think a lot of people talk about is some of these family channels have been in operation for, 5+ years. And 5 years ago, like, people really didn't know the scary aspects of the online world and what could potentially come negatively from putting yourself or your kids online. It's almost like they're having to learn as the information comes out. And I think sometimes they just don't know how to mitigate the situation. And so they just keep doing what they have been doing and don't really realize the scary aspects of being online, having your kids online, and all of the negativity and scary, like real life scary stuff that can come from that. That is an interesting point that I don't think is talked about. And I don't know if it's because there hasn't been research about that, or, I mean, a lot of the times family channels really don't divulge, from what I have seen, they really don't divulge a lot of like the serious stuff. They seem to just try to make their lives look perfect and always going on trips and things like that. So the realist aspect, as far as like what they experience as creators and in their real life, I don't think is shared. I don't think a lot of creators, even larger creators, really do share the scary aspects of being an influencer or a social media star. I don't know how else to really name it, but I feel like once you reach a certain point on any kind of platform and you have any kind of recognition or fame or anything, there comes a lot of scary aspects where you get people who become obsessive and you get people who really dislike you and they're willing to go to really awful lengths to make sure you're aware of their obsession or their dislike for you. And that's a scary aspect that I don't think a lot of creators talk about, but I do think a lot of creators face. People becoming obsessed, people, seeking them out in real life, following them around. I do think that that does happen because it happens with actual celebrities, like TV celebrities. That kind of stuff happens with, and we rarely even hear about those situations, but we know that they exist. And it only makes sense that now that in today's society, we're moving more towards online stuff, that these influencers or stars from any kind of social media are getting the same kind of heat. I know recently another thing that's been talked about is I guess the D'Amelios have a show. I might be wrong about that. I haven't seen it. They have something with a streaming service. And I've heard a lot of talk going around about how in one of the episodes that have aired recently, I think it was Charlie, who is still a minor, how she had a panic attack because of online criticism and online hate. And I've seen people, when I've been perusing through YouTube or any kind of social media, I've seen people do both things. I've seen people criticize her for having this panic attack and people understanding her having this panic attack. I mean, what I don't understand is why in today's world it's like okay to damn somebody for having a panic attack. I mean, she is a minor who, she's infamous almost. Like, I feel like if she goes anywhere, she's going to be noticed. She's going to be recognized. She has paparazzi. She has people who are always trying to find out where she is. She's young. She's not fully developed. I mean, that's the honest truth. She's not fully developed. And it's a huge pressure. And she's also probably her and her sister are like the breadwinners for the family, are they not? So they have that pressure. And then being on any kind of online space, you're going to be disliked by somebody or a group of people. And the larger that you grow, the more that group is going to grow. So even if she's outwardly not problematic, she's young and she's done a few things that have been questionable, but a lot of that is due to her immaturity and her learning life lessons. And it just so happens to be that it's online for everybody to see. Even at my age, if I had the following she had, I would probably have panic attacks just going out in public as well. And I'm someone who's not an anxious person. So I can't imagine being young and dealing with all the pressures she is. And she's on a show. It's showing part of their life and what it's like to be them. So those moments that you typically don't see are probably going to air on this show. Why people are shocked by this is more what is shocking to me, that people wouldn't think she would have massive amounts of pressure on her that are going to break her down from time to time, especially because she is younger and she's dealing with all of these things. And I know she appears to have a really good support system, but still, like, it's because the world is like so easy to just not really think of this full scenario or put themselves in whoever's shoes that they're in. They just take it from their own perspective, their own walk of life, and how they think they would deal with it in that situation. And they don't take into account what the actual person who is maybe experiencing these things, how they would feel, if any of that makes sense. People have been cruel to Charlie. Like, people, yeah, I 100% believe that. And a lot of the reason why that kind of stuff happens is because it's almost accepted now for people to be absolutely disgusting to others online. And I don't know why it has become such like an okay and like passable thing for others to like say nasty things. I don't know if it's because of it being the internet and you have a level of anonymity that people feel comfortable saying some of the most atrocious things to others. I don't know if it's because they're struggling in their own lives and they want to take it out on somebody else, so they do. I mean, I don't know. I don't think anybody actually knows why people who troll and behave in these awful ways, why they do so. I don't think anybody knows the answer unless there's someone who's out there who is engaged in that behavior and is willing to talk about it. I don't I don't think we'll ever know the answer. It's just mind-boggling to me. Like, why are you going through, if you're the person leaving those comments, like, why are you going through the effort of wasting your time if you clearly don't like someone to leave a nasty comment like that? And what good are you, like, you're not up to any good. And if for some awful reason someone were to act out what you're telling them to, how would that make you feel? How would you feel about that? Would you, like, are you like kind of demented and you want something bad to happen to these people? Like, I just don't understand. If you don't like somebody, don't engage in the content. Don't watch it. Don't, I mean, like, just why? Why are you, if you know you don't like somebody, or you know you don't like a topic someone is talking about, why are you going to put yourself through the agonizing pain, so to speak, of listening to someone you don't like, or listening to a topic that you really don't want to hear about? Why even put yourself through that? Like, it's just something I can't understand. If I see a topic that I'm not interested in, or I know I'm going to have a negative reaction to, I just don't watch it. If there's a creator I don't like for whatever reason, I just don't engage with their content. Like, it's that easy. You don't have to make it like your mission to make them feel like crap because you don't like them. I don't understand that. And I don't know why it has become such a norm for the internet space for this to be a thing that happens all the time. And then that bleeds into like people going real life and finding out who people are in real life to torment them, or to call their jobs, if they have jobs, to take away their means of living. Like, what satisfaction do you really get out of like having a negative impact on someone else's life just because you don't like their presence on the internet, when you can easily make the choice to just not see it? It's something that I can't understand. It's because she was getting attention for her birthday. You think sometimes, I don't know, like, there for a while, I kind of thought that maybe the pandemic had a hand in it too, in that because people were isolated and stuck at home, that maybe people were frustrated and taking out their frustrations and their lack of human contact out on people on the internet. But when I really think about it, and I really look back to pre-pandemic, this kind of behavior has been going on. I think it just got exacerbated during the pandemic. I don't think this is a new thing. I think this is something that has been going on, but because of the pandemic and because people were maybe online more, it got amplified. And I think because other people were also online who can think critically and logically, they were realizing that this is a bigger problem than what maybe they had realized before. I think it's been an ongoing thing. I don't think it's new. I think people have gotten complacent and they're okay with behaving this way because they don't get any repercussions from it. Watch content that moves you or makes you think. Petty drama can be entertaining. Once it gets really personal, going real life, name calling, etc., you dip out. I understand that. And being on this platform, you're going to end up in if you're a creator, you're going to end up in some kind of petty beef at some point. It's just the reality of this space. It's going to happen. It's how you as a creator deal with it and move on from it and hopefully learn from it that makes the difference. And again, I agree with you, Dark Magician. If it gets to a point where you're just being outright disgusting to the other creator or the other group of creators or whatever it is, like, why are you wasting your time? Because yeah, you may get the clicks and views because everybody likes to watch drama. I'm not going to sit here and say I don't watch drama. I do, because it's entertaining. But again, once it gets to that point where people are just being outright disgusting for literally no reason other than they want to be the one with the last word, it gets like, it's frustrating for me. And then once you get to that point, there's just a whole bunch of hypocrisy that goes on and everybody's calling out each party and each party is engaging in the same behavior. And it's like, no one here is right and no one here is wrong. Everybody wants, if you continue a beef with someone back and forth, it gets to a point where it's like super super off-putting, and then you start to bring in other people. And I just don't understand that mentality. I don't know why it gets that far. Anonymous or not, it's still a facet of their character. If they're able to torment someone online, it's maladaptive behavior, and there's something wrong with those people. Hashtag get help, weirdo. I agree with you, Skip. I do think when people, if you're someone who regularly engages in that kind of behavior, I don't want to say there's something wrong with you, because it's not very fair to say, but I do want to say, like, there's a disconnect. Either they're struggling with something internally and they're just trying to expose of that, or it's a part of their character and maybe they're just not a nice person, which there's people who just aren't nice people. I mean, that's the truth of it. Not everybody on this planet is here to be nice or care for others. And it sucks, but it's the reality. I mean, that's why there's prisons for people to go to prison when they commit heinous acts, because those people clearly had an incorrect sense of right from wrong and had something going on with their character or their personality or their morals that affected them enough to carry out these awful acts. People flock to those channels, and that is when they get a huge audience, so it isn't going to change. I mean, when it comes to petty beef, again, people enjoy drama. We enjoy watching a dumpster fire. We enjoy being entertained. And the unfortunate side is petty beef is usually over something ridiculously stupid, and it gets entertaining to see individuals argue back and forth over something so minuscule. Well, the problem is people's feelings actually start to get hurt. People actually start to get offended. And so they continue because they want to be the one, in my opinion, anyways, they want to be the one who gets the last word. They want to be the one who feels like they won whatever petty beef was going on. And the reality is, for me, is that most of these petty beefs, like, they could easily be squashed if you just decide to ignore it and not engage in it. I mean, that's just my opinion. If you just don't engage and you walk away, even if you're a part of that, it can stop it a lot quicker. People seem to enjoy seeing people ripped apart. I don't really understand that. I don't understand why people enjoy or find it entertaining when someone is being very vulgar to someone else. Like, have your opinion, even if it's a negative one, even if it's a negative experience, you can still do it with some level of respect and not name calling, not trashing them, not trying to demean them. But it seems when creators especially get into these tiffs back and forth, that line goes away, and it's just like, I'm going to say anything and everything. And I don't know if it's for shock value or if it's because they're wanting to continue having an argument with somebody because it does bring in views. I'm not sure really where that is, but it's an interesting aspect that people do watch others be very vulgar and assertive with someone else. When it starts to come into a territory where you're making fun of someone over something they can't help, like their appearance, or you're just being nasty about their appearance, or you're calling them terrible names repeatedly for no reason other than you're pissed off or at them or for something that they did. I don't get it. I check out at streams at that point. I can't. It's not entertaining to me once it reaches that level. And I think about all aspects at that point. There's been a lot of petty stuff going on within smaller communities lately. And people trying to poke bears and start shit where shit shouldn't really be started. It's all up to the other people to just try and be the bigger person and not engage with it, not give them what they want. Because at the end of the day, sometimes it is a creator who just is wanting to get your attention, even if it's in a negative light. So a beef can start, and so it can continue because that does fuel views. You've been on an unsubscribing spree. I went through one a while ago. I just got sick of seeing nothing but arguing and being nasty to each other that I just checked out of a lot of channels. I'm subscribed primarily to a lot of bigger channels that don't engage in petty stuff. It speaks more of those people than the ones targeted. Yeah, I agree. Drama seems even worse in smaller communities and channels. I agree. I agree with that. And I think the reason that that is a case is because in smaller communities, and when you have smaller channels like under 10K, and they're all collectively, from what I have experienced in multiple different communities, you have a similar audience and you may have a disagreement. You may have a falling out, so to speak. You may have been cordial and then you're no longer cordial. And then your feelings are hurt because at some point in time, you've had communications with this person. So whether it was a friendship or not, there was some kind of alliance there where you've had communication. So your emotions are going to be more invested. So when that person leaves or there's a disagreement or a dispute, because you share similar audiences, you're afraid that because you're no longer in cahoots or in alliance with the same person anymore, that your audience is going to feel that they have to pick. And in the reality, the audience doesn't care. The audience is subscribed to whoever because they like them for whatever reason they like that channel. But because they're afraid of that, they start to take it public and they start to take little jabs and be shady towards each other. And then a beef is started, and then a back and forth is started. And then subscribers feel that they have to pick because the people that they like are arguing with each other. When in reality, if that argument never happened, if it was never taken to an online space, subscribers wouldn't know any different and they would enjoy who they want to enjoy. But I have noticed in these smaller communities, these creators are almost watching and monitoring the creator that they don't like, their chats in their channels. And if they see someone who supports them also in that other chat, I know for a fact, because it's been sent to me before, people going and DMing them and asking why they're in that chat and questioning them over why they're supporting someone else. That is extremely inappropriate behavior, in my opinion, as a creator. You shouldn't be engaging in that. If a subscriber of yours wants to be somewhere else or enjoy someone else, just because you don't like them or you don't like their content, doesn't mean that you should tell them not to be there anymore or that you should question them. There's already a power imbalance as you being a creator. So it's not appropriate for you to take that power imbalance and directly question somebody who you know supports you because you saw them supporting somebody that they may know you don't like. That's just crazy to me. There's plenty of creators who like people I don't like, and I don't tell them, oh, well, if you're going to like them, I'm not going to talk to you anymore, and I don't want your subscribers on my channel. You're setting yourself up almost to end up stagnant or, plateau at some point. And I mean, I'm preaching here because I've stagnant and plateaued, but that's at my own doing. But I mean, that's going to happen if you're making people feel that they can't be a part of your community because they're a part of someone else's community. Like, stop. That's so immature. I'm so sick of seeing it. And in every little petty creator on creator beef with smaller channels, that seems to be happening. And subscribers get sick of it. They're like, I'm sick of hearing about this. I'm sick of you talking about this person. I like this person and I like you. And they'll be like, oh yeah, no, that's fine. And then later you find out that no, it wasn't fine. They were in your DMs telling you, like, if you're going to support them, I don't want you here anymore. What kind of behavior is that? Why is that acceptable? If a creator does that to you or questions you in a public stream because you were somewhere else, if I were you or if that happened to me, I would unsubscribe from that person because it's inappropriate. Also, calling out subscribers in your petty beef because they have participated in some way or form, like why is it a thing now to address subscribers as if they have their own platform and can respond back? If a subscriber is being downright awful to you or you really don't agree with what they're doing, there is a block button for a reason. Block them so you don't see them wherever you go, so you don't feel like you're going to have to get emotional or respond to something that you see them say or do. Like, it's your choice. You're putting yourself in that position to deal with somebody that maybe you don't like if you're not just going to block them. Creators get way too much judgment over blocking people. Okay, there's a blocking feature for a reason for creators, and it's to maintain the kind of community they want to maintain. And it's also so they can maintain their own mental health, so they don't have to see the same person coming and commenting on every video how shitty they think you are. We don't have to deal with that, and we shouldn't be criticized for blocking people who are treating us like shit. It's not creating an echo chamber if they're treating you like utter shit. If they're giving you criticism and you're blocking it because you just can't deal with the criticism, that kind of bleeds into you're maybe creating an echo chamber. But more often than not, I know when I have blocked people, it is because they have been outwardly disgusting to me and I don't want to see them again. This eyeliner is like leaked into my water line. You refuse to ever do that shit on your channel, and I will never tell my viewers who they can or can't watch. And I respect that, Xylee. I respect how you operate your chats in your channel, because you leave it a way where the way that you have your channel set up is like, it's whatever you're talking about, and anything else, it's not going to be addressed, because that's the rules of the chat. You don't bring outside beef, and you keep it on topic, and you keep respectful. I don't think that those are hard rules to ask for people to follow. And I think it prevents drama from occurring and like you not having control over your chat. I see all too often creators saying that they can't control their chats. And to a degree, no, we can't control our chats. But if you have rules in place like that and someone breaks the rule, that's on them. Like, your rules were there. If they get blocked for that, again, your rules are there. They're pinned on every stream that you do. So it's like, well, you're on the internet, you can read. So you didn't read or you didn't care. And if you have an outside drama or an outside beef with someone, like, you're fine to be in her chat with them at the same time. And she doesn't care if you go fight somewhere else. Just don't fight in her chat. I don't think that that's so hard to ask for. And I think it's a good way to run a channel in your live streams. You've seen more subs being called out publicly on live streams lately. I've seen a little bit of that too. And that's why I mention it. I don't necessarily, unless the subscriber is going to crazy lengths to insert themselves and be involved to a point where you can't tell the situation without talking about the subscriber, I think that's a little bit different. But if it's just because they're in your chat and you've seen them somewhere else, why are you calling out a random person? That's like if you were walking down the street and you saw some random person wearing something you don't like. Are you telling me you're going to walk up to that person and be a dick to them in front of whoever else is with them because you don't like their shirt? I highly doubt that. I highly doubt most people would be willing to do that. You've had that happen a couple of times. I'm sorry that's happened to you, Jamie. And that's what I'm talking about. Like, you guys shouldn't be put in that kind of position. You should be able to enjoy whoever you want to. You should be able to comment wherever you want to. And if another creator has a problem with it, or you feel that another creator is going to have a problem with you being somewhere, you probably shouldn't be in that creator's community, because something's going on there then. Something shady is happening. That's not fair to do to random people on the internet that you don't know. It's not fair. Well, that also works because Xylee doesn't go back and forth with small channels, so it's easy to enforce those rules. Yeah, I agree. If a creator ever even insinuated to me directly that I shouldn't be following someone else or chatting in another stream, you don't care how much you like the creator, you're out. I agree, Michelle. I would be too. Who are you to think that you can dictate where I go? Like, I may really, really like you and like have a whole lot of respect for you, but the second that you tell me I can or can't do something online when it doesn't even affect you in the grand scheme of things, you've lost my respect at that point, and I think you've lost my subscription. With no consequences, people think that they can do and say anything. I do think that that's a lot of why people engage negatively online. I really do. You can honestly say you watch several that do not like each other, but no one has told me who I can or cannot watch or like, but I unsub when I don't like their content anymore. And that's totally fine. I mean, and as a creator, you know that that's going to happen. You're going to have people come and go. You're going to have people click on a video. They really like that topic, and maybe they think that you're going to continue to talk about that specific thing, and come to find out you're not going to, and they no longer subscribe to you. When I stopped covering Katie, I had a lot of people unsubscribe from me, and I knew it was going to happen, but it's okay. Like, that's a part of being a creator, is you shouldn't let your numbers dictate how you are on your channel. You shouldn't let your numbers dictate how you're going to be, what mood you're going to be in, how you're going to treat people, what content you're going to make. You shouldn't let your numbers run your channel like that. In the spirit of not being hypocritical, some creators do take egregious foul stuff at some point in going to put on my judgy socks and make assumptions about your character if you're cool with it. I mean, we're all human too, Skip. Like, you bring up a good point. We're all human. We all have judgment. I mean, I try my best. I'm going to be honest. I try my best not to judge people, but you say or do something a few too many times, I am probably going to start assuming that that's part of who you are. And if it's against what I support or I would want to support, I'm not going to be there anymore. I'm going to leave. And sometimes it only takes one behavior, and that one thing is big enough to me that I just don't want to be associated with that. I don't want to be a part of that. So I just dip out. And we shouldn't be judged for, if people want to judge us for not participating in any community that you may have been a part of, fine, judge me for it. I don't care. Like, it's not that deep for me. And it shouldn't be that deep for anyone. This is the internet. Even if you're making a living out of this, like, it should not affect you more than what a 9-to-5 job would. And I know that that's a bad analogy, because YouTube can take more hours than a 9-to-5 job, but you get what I'm saying. Like, when you go to an office or you go to a place of work, when you leave that place of work, unless you're on call or something like that, typically you drop your work baggage there. I kind of feel like that's how the internet needs to be. And I know it's harder when you have a larger platform and people are, coming at you and talking to you and like trying to get you to cover stuff. I understand that to a degree, but you have to have boundaries in place. A lot of issues that I see both small and larger creators having is there doesn't seem to be they don't appear to have very many boundaries in place to protect themselves and their own mental health from their job, if it's YouTube, or from any other facet of the internet. And I always have implored people to have strong boundaries to maintain a good sense of, my dogs are getting into stuff. Wait 1 second. Sorry about that. I can hear them getting into something out there. I don't exactly remember what I was saying either. So there's that. Also, if creators are making personal attacks and sticking to criticizing content only, it's a lot harder for sub to take offense if they like the creator being discussed. Yeah, I can see that. You feel some creators forget that when they become monetized, you are now a business owner and should conduct yourself as such, i.e., you should operate your channel with some sort of decorum. Yeah, I agree. I agree with that, Dark Magician. I think when people get monetized, there's a shift almost. And I don't mean this in a bad way. Sometimes the shift is for a good reason, and sometimes the shift is just, it happens and it doesn't mean to happen. Some people get money hungry when they become monetized and they let that get to them. I've seen that quite a bit. Other times they allow that to be their motivation to continue to do better and be better and continue to upgrade their quality and their content and try to make a go of it. You can usually tell how they're going to go once they're monetized on how they behave afterwards. It is a business once you're monetized. Even if you're not bringing in a lot of money, it still is something that is giving you some kind of funds. You should respect that and respect the people who are watching you. I just don't know. You love when the dogs come charging in. I don't think they're going to come charging in because they're getting into something and I don't know what it is. You would love to see more of my dogs. Yeah, I know. My dogs are really hard to film. That's just the truth of the matter. They're both very energetic and they are never like still. So it's extremely hard to get them to settle enough to film anything. Otherwise, you're just going to see little shots of them running by. I'll try to get some clips together of them and maybe put together a quick little video. I've said that for months now and I've never actually put it together. All right. So I know we've talked about a couple of things. Is there anything else that you guys have seen that you want to talk about? Anything that you want to know my opinion about? If I have seen it or if I have an opinion, I'll share that with you guys. Otherwise, I think I'm going to start wrapping this up here in the next couple of minutes because I do not know what they're getting into. Thank you guys for the compliments on my makeup. I appreciate that. And I know there's a little bit of a delay, so I'm just going to give you guys a little bit of time. If there's anything else you want to talk about, anything else you guys have seen, or if you want to know if I've seen. But while I wait for any of those to come through, I'm not really sure what's going to come of when I'm going to be able to, I'm going to try to work next week as far as like getting some content filmed for you guys. It's probably going to be a little bit of some generic content rather than specific commentary content until I see something that really interests me. There is a story situation. It's not even a story, a situation that several of you have reached out to me about with my background, wanting me to talk about it. That's the Trishalicious stuff. If you don't know, that's up to you to make that decision if you want to go down that rabbit hole. I'm debating whether or not I'm going to talk about it. I know a lot of you guys have asked me. I've had a couple of emails and DMs. I understand why you want me to cover it, and I'm totally comfortable covering it. It's just something that I need to go back and do my research to collectively talk about. I may put a poll up, and if enough people are interested, I'll try to get that out this week. Here, since Xylee asked, these are my nails. I've had these on for about a week. You can see my nail growth coming through. I usually leave them on for 2 to 3 weeks before I take them off. So I'm probably going to be doing a new set next week. But I appreciate it. Yeah, I don't know if I have the nail polish in reach or not. It is from an Amazon brand called The Beatles. I don't know if that's going to focus for you guys or not. This is the neon collection, and this was the purple that was in there, even though it's not very neon, but yes, kaleidoscopic. The Trishalicious stuff has to do with CPS. She live streamed her child getting removed from her custody. I reacted to that with my members, I think yesterday or the day before, just to do some research. And I need to go back and watch previous videos that maybe provided why that ended up happening. So I'm open to talking about it, providing some education around that, and explaining how that probably happened. But I do want to gather information previously before I just go in and respond to that. No, it does not bother me when people send me emails or DMs for suggestions on content. I find it helpful, especially since I've kind of been MIA for a while. I'm at that place right now where I'm like, I don't know what I should cover. I don't want to cover anything that's like been done a few weeks ago. That way, because I know so many content creators have already covered it, and it's kind of like, are people even going to care what I have to say about certain stuff that's gone on? So I'm trying to just like think of topics that maybe people haven't covered or that people have asked me to talk about. So if you have any suggestions, I put up a community tab, and I think I even put it out on Twitter a couple of days ago within the last week. If you have any suggestions, to definitely just reach out to me. I don't take that offensively. I prefer to know what you guys want to hear from me or see from me. That way I know I'm working on stuff that you're absolutely, for sure, at least a couple of you will like. The other stuff is always just hit or miss if people are interested in it or not, which is fine. I have not seen Mysterious T's video on Trisha Paytas. I believe you asked me to watch it. I just haven't had a chance to. So I will try to get to that later today or tomorrow. But I do know Miss Xylee is going live this evening, and I believe she's talking about the Jordan stuff that we kind of covered briefly today earlier at the beginning of the stream. I believe that's what her topic is. So if you're interested about talking about that or family vloggers, make sure you're there. It's at 8 p.m. Eastern time. I'm in a different time zone, so it's always a different time for me than everybody else. But if you're interested in that, make sure you're there for that. I'll see you guys in that chat if that's the case. I don't see anybody bringing up any. Okay, Jamie, you asked if I had any thoughts about certain creators getting letters. Are you talking about the letters from Katie? Yeah, I know about that. I don't have any opinion on it. I didn't get one. I'm not surprised I didn't get one. I haven't really been talking about her. I mean, all I can say is, are we shocked? And what ended up happening is she said everybody's going to talk about it, and everybody talked about it. Like, you guys, creators played into her hand with it. I do think it's funny that, you know, the creators are trying to, you know, make a joke out of it and make songs about it. I haven't listened to any of the songs, but I know that that's going on. I think that's kind of like a cute thing for them to do. But the letters, I don't care about. And, you know, the creators, like I said, Katie gassed up that people were going to know who they were because they were going to talk about it, and they did exactly what she wanted, and they talked about it. And I do know a lot of that may have been out of their control because their audiences were probably asking them, hey, did you get a letter? And they, I mean, just being transparent, they answered. I don't have any. I know Emily D. Baker, I didn't watch it, but I know she went over that letter, and I guess it really doesn't make sense that she sent those letters to people. So take that what you will. I mean, if you guys are, I'm not surprised. That's all I can say is I'm not surprised at all that she sent letters out. I'm not surprised people played into it. I mean, it is what it is, you know. That's kind of my take on it. Hey, Jay, good to see you. Yeah, it is at 8 p.m. Eastern time. I will be there. I will be in the chat moderating. Thank you, Donna. I appreciate that compliment. You want to see the MV video, but you need a breakdown from Trisha. I don't see Jamie in the chat. She may need to check if she has me blocked. Hey, Britt, good to see you. It's okay, Jay. I appreciate when you are here or you can't attend. I know we all have busy lives. So I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. No. Don't feel sorry about bringing it up. I don't mind. That's just my opinion on it. I really don't have one. I'm not really following any of that. So don't feel bad about bringing it up. I know a little bit about it, but I'm not keeping on top of it. It's just not something that's interesting to me. And I'm not surprised at how everything is playing out, to be honest. So I definitely don't mind that you brought it up. Don't feel bad, Jamie. It's totally fine. If I didn't want to answer it, I wouldn't have. So you're totally fine. But I am going to go ahead and head off of here. We've been on here for a little bit over an hour. I have to find out what my dogs are chewing up. Hopefully it's a toy, but I don't know. So I need to go figure that out. But I appreciate you all here. Hopefully this is the start back to me being somewhat regular in content. I may just do a couple of live streams in the meantime, just to like chat, maybe get ready, maybe just do one like this where we kind of cover random things that we have seen happen until I can get a good solid schedule under me. And again, there are more decisions and more changes that will be happening for me in my life. And when those start to happen, I will keep you guys informed. But right now there's just way too much in the air for me to throw out like all of these different hypotheticals that could or potentially may happen. So I don't want to confuse you guys. I don't want you guys to worry. It's nothing scary, nothing super, it is kind of super serious, but it's nothing scary, nothing to like worry about me for. Just changes, life changes, you know, we got to go with the flow. But I appreciate you guys being here. I appreciate you guys' conversation. I really have missed this and missed chatting with you guys. Thank you for being patient with me. Thank you for forever having the patience while I go through these spouts of figuring life out. But I look forward to creating some content this week and maybe even doing some live streams. I will try to schedule them better. I know this one was a little bit last minute. I am aiming to be better and more consistent for you guys. So try and hold me accountable. If it's been a while, feel free to blow me up somewhere, whether that's on my email, my Twitter, Instagram. Feel free to like say, hey, it's been a while. You said to hold you accountable. Totally cool with that. I'll feel the pressure and will definitely probably jump on it quicker if I wasn't already doing something. But it's been lovely. Thank you all so much for all of your support and all of your chats today. I look forward to chatting with you guys and bringing you guys some content, hopefully within the next week or two. But with that being said, I hope you all have a good day, evening, or night, wherever you are. And until next time, bye, guys.